I'm a singer, not a speaker, so this is totally out of my comfort zone. With John one day, and we've done that a few times, and I've enjoyed our chats because I've been curious about my finding a new path to my faith, and he might have been hinting that I should do one of these life messages, but I might have made that up in my head. I'm not sure if you're... It was a subtle hint, and I was like, I think I can do this. I can talk about my mental health and my faith and how they're connected. And we had talked about doing it in April, but I forgot about the part that we said, well, maybe it should be in February, closer to Bell Let's Talk month. So 2 weeks ago, I saw it posted on Facebook that I'm doing this on February 1st, and panic set in. I was like, I don't think I can do this. And I almost backed out. And anyways, here we are. But there was thoughts of like, I can't do this. But I remembered that I had the tools to get me through this. So I want to share a little bit about my journey with you, ups and downs and lessons in between. And I'm always reminded of this one line that came from my cousin's nephew, and he was playing on a trampoline with some other kids and got hurt, and when he was asked what happened, he said, crying, "I was going and I got bonked down." So I think about that almost every day, and it's like, you know, those days when your day's going good, and then something happens and you get bonked down, and it kind of multiplies, and now you're having a bad day. So I always think about that. How do we avoid getting bonked down? So I grew up Catholic, loved singing in the choir, but by my teens I felt disconnected. Going to church felt like I was going through the motions. As I got older, I would try to go on special occasions with my mom. My mom's here, and because I knew it would make my mom happy. But my mental health journey probably started in high school, likely the worst years of my life. It seemed to be focused on what I wasn't good at or what I was doing wrong. And I was like, did they think they could fix me by focusing on that stuff? I was decent at hockey, but not good enough for the high school team. I could play guitar, but not good enough for the bands that were starting to form at our school. I even won the guitar award one year, but no motivation to show up to get it. And yes, being overweight and trying to wear that Catholic school uniform every day was not my favorite thing. And then prom, going to prom solo, no thanks. I was in my first band just after high school. We did pretty well. We even got offered a record contract that we respectfully declined. But there was always an underlying theme of, I'm not good enough for this band. And after a mentally tough rehearsal, I decided to leave the band. So the first important meltdown of my life was years later, after finding it hard to hold down unfulfilling jobs. I went back to school for audio production in my early 30s, and that was it. I was going to be a music producer. Only $19,800 for 1 year. And they said studios would be lined up to hire you guys. I was in the first year that the school opened, and the longer you're there, you realize there's no jobs at the end of this. And sure, you could like produce other people, but when you're starting out, you can't really charge money to produce other people at that stage. And I could have interned at a big studio for no money, making coffee runs for other artists. And but by this time I was playing music a little more. I produced my own record. I recorded my Uncle Jimmy, who's my mom's oldest sibling. He's one of my biggest inspirations. So I did a bunch of cool things with it, and then basically my $5,000 computer became obsolete, and I said, that's it, I'm just gonna sing. So But the people I did meet at that school and played with over the years is priceless. And I think that's where I started learning a little bit of perspective. How can I look at this experience and make it a positive one? Maybe I wasn't meant to be call it a positive punch in the face when I realized that I just have to sing. It's like, what am I good at? Singing. I can sing. Well, what if I focused on what I was good at for once? So now, thank God, I realized that I have to sing. But man, I still had a big dark hole that I had to get out of. I decided to go to the doctor and ask for help. And I told my story and that I was lost and needed somebody to talk to. And he referred me to a psychiatrist. And I tried my story on him, and he handed me a prescription. And I was like, I thought I was here to talk to somebody. And he said, well, this will help you. So looking back, I think it was more of a life coach or a therapist that I needed. And I reluctantly took the drugs, telling myself it would be temporary, just to get myself out of the dark hole. I got back into the unfulfilling job, rat race, and played music on the weekends. But I was past what seemed to be the biggest hurdle of my life. After many attempts, I was able to wean myself off the drugs. And man, that's a big hurdle to work out on your own. But I came out with a small bag of positives to focus. After some years plowing through the rat race, trying to figure out what life was about, my hairdresser was taking a leave of absence, and I was booked with another hairdresser, and she was amazing. And we became friends and later dated and bought a house and got married. I was 42 when I got married. And it happened so quickly, but looking back at all the life lessons I had been through, brought me to a place where I was ready and I knew what I was looking for. You know how they say men sometimes marry someone like your mom? Yep. I always thought I would eventually get away from that motherly worrying. Nope. Just multiplied. After some time, work stresses were getting to us, feeling disrespected at our jobs, and we were taking it home. We made the decision to put a salon in our basement, and my wife, Ashley, works for herself, and she was off to the races. Me, on the other hand, I was not content anywhere. I wasn't content at work, home, anywhere. I worked the unfulfilling job Monday to Friday, Wednesday playing hockey, which had to do with drinking. Thursday I would play darts, drinking, and playing music on the weekends, and yep, usually drinking. Something had to give. I quit hockey, and shortly after darts, and in my mind, music was now on the table. Could I quit the only thing I'm good at? I think so. It was then my mom asked me if I could go with her to her naturopath's office where an author was speaking about his new book. I was happy to go with her, but it wasn't for me, it was for her. And everything that guy said that day resonated with me, and I knew I had to work with him. He's a spiritual advisor. He's also a singer-songwriter. I looked at his website, and he did one-on-one sessions. So was this the guy I needed in my life to talk to and not just hand me a prescription? Sessions with Russell were changing my perspective on life. What's really important? What do we really want from life? What do we have to offer? Before too long, Russell asked me if I could take 3 months off work to write music, and of course I said no friggin' way. I have a mortgage to pay. I told my wife what Russell had said, and I wasn't even telling her as if I was considering this crazy idea. I was like, "Can you believe he said that?" And she said something along the lines of, maybe you should. And somewhere between the next couple of sessions with Russell, the conversation with Ashley, and I changed from taking 3 months off work to quitting my day job. But we had a team. There was also a therapist that I haven't mentioned. One great thing about those unfulfilling jobs is the benefits, and I had a therapist through that program. Her name is Rose, and it definitely took a team to make this happen. We gave ourselves a realistic timeline and put our heads and hearts together to make it happen. I rented a cottage and took my 2 best buddies, and we wrote 6 songs in 3 days, because if I was going to do this, I needed to do it the right way. I'd have a record with stories of my life up to that point. I put together the best resignation letter you could ever imagine. Handed it to him, the owner of the company, and I waited for his response. I told him everything. It's not only how you speak to me, it's how I have to listen to how you speak to others. And it was a full page of it. At first he was mad at me. He'd wasted a lot of money on training me, he said. He asked if I was giving him 2 weeks' notice. I said, no, I think you'll do fine without me. At the end of the letter, it said, I also want to thank you because I likely would not have made the decision to do my passion full time if it wasn't for the way you've treated me. At the end of the meeting, he stood up. He shook my hand, looked me in the eyes, and said, all the best with everything. It was the most respect I had ever felt. The title track to that record is called Better Man Today, with lines like, I'm tired of pretending that you're not offending my life, and I won't cry no more. There was days I'd be crying on the way home from work. Now we had to put together a CD release party. It was to happen about 5 months after I was leaving my day job. This is where the second important meltdown comes into play. A few months before the release party, where I was to play these songs about my journey with my band and my co-writers, I was not feeling it. I couldn't sing these songs. I felt broken. How can I stand on stage and sing these words? It was time to go back to see Rose, my therapist. She asked me to change the word broken to vulnerable. That was huge for me. Again, learning about perspective. I saw her twice, I believe, and had to tell her I couldn't afford to see her again now that I don't have benefits from work. She said to me, I'd like to invest in you. She saw me four or five more times before that release party without charging me, and had me ready to sing those songs loud and proud. It felt like a gift from God. I still see Rose every now and then when I feel like I need it, but I have a bigger bag of tools now that keep me from needing to see her as often. Talking is the best medicine. Fast forward to CD number 2, New Life Lessons, A Stronger Me, much more self-worth, and more vulnerability. The title track is very fitting. It's called I Am Enough. We wrote a song called Dad. My dad and I were typically civil with each other, but maybe not as that close father-son relationship that I had hoped. He had fully committed his life to my mom, worked his butt off to pay the bills and have the life we had. I have a lot of respect for him for that. When my dad's health took a turn for the worse, the father of my two buddies that I co-write music with, he was not doing well either. So we wrote a song about having that last conversation with a parent, and what do you say, and how do you say it, and when do you do it? And with both fathers, it seemed we could lose them at any day. And so I always had this thought about, what if I have this conversation now with him, but then he lasts for another year? I don't want to have the last conversation, but how many times am I going to have this last conversation? But thankfully, I was lucky enough to have many of those conversations with my dad. And they both lasted at least a couple years after that song was written. My dad passed away on March 12th, 2024, and their father passed away 2 months prior. My advice to you is to have those conversations now. I was lucky enough to have many of those conversations with my dad. We got so close in that time. I said everything you could ever imagine saying. Some people don't get that opportunity. I think getting close to my dad changed my life. I got to play that song for him many times. In fact, I coincidentally was scheduled to play his nursing home the day after he moved in. The staff already knew him because my parents would visit when I was playing there previous times. And he's a life of the party kind of guy. And my parents and my aunt were sitting over in the corner. There's probably 80 people there that day. And one of the staff members went and got my dad's wheelchair and put him front and center. And he had his Woodburn shirt on. And he was happy as a pig in you-know-what that day. And I sang Dad loud and proud that day. The last line is, "I love you, Dad." And earlier in the song, it talks about us never saying that growing up. I don't remember saying that, and sometimes I would wonder if I was good enough. Again, the underlying theme of not feeling good enough, which is usually in our own heads. When it came to writing a eulogy for my dad's funeral, I thought a lot about what qualities and characteristics I would take from my dad. Halfway through writing the eulogy, it hit me. Authenticity. You see, my dad didn't have a filter. He would just say whatever came to mind. And what I realized was that the things that my mom and I would be embarrassed about with him were the things that people loved about him. And there were approximately 130 people at that funeral. And I thought, he must have done something right. So I had always tried to be authentic, but now I was doubling down. People like authentic people. Sometimes we spend our lives trying to be something we're not, trying to be what other people want us to be. Imagine life with only a bunch of inauthentic people around. Just over a year ago, a good friend of mine, who you know very well, asked me to play at her church Christmas concert. I was 1,000% in. One thing I realized from playing music solo for 6 years, as 90% of my shows are solo, you miss the boat on community. It was 250 people listening to every word I sang. It was more about connection than being good. I enjoyed it so much that I asked if I could play at church on a Sunday leading up to Christmas Day. John said something that day that resonated so much with me that I forgot what it was. I wish I could remember exactly what it was, but it did click. Because at that point in my life, I considered myself to be spiritual, but not religious. Trusting the universe was just easier for me. But whatever John said that day started the ball rolling. What if I change the word universe to God? What if that's an easier, more meaningful path? What have I got to lose? The universe to me is energy, and we are all energy, and positive attracts positive. What if, like, I would be like, what have you got for me today, universe? I would talk to the universe like that. But what you get in church, with everyone praying to one God and singing powerful songs together, is an amazing, powerful energy. Like, we're all in this together. We got this. When someone used to say to me, I'll pray for you, I didn't really understand what that meant. I'm seeing it now. I go to church on my terms now. Not because I'm supposed to. I've learned to take what I need from it, looking for lessons, looking for reasons to get closer to God, stepping stones on my own journey. There's a song that I've really connected with. It goes, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's freedom. So there's a couple stepping stones I find in that line. I love the idea of the Spirit of the Lord. Living in the Spirit of the Lord, I'm in. And man, if you could find freedom there. I spoke earlier about not feeling content anywhere, home, work, whatever. Living in the Spirit of the Lord seems like such a small step for a great reward. And it's working. To me, it's all about life lessons, to change our perspective on life, meet new people, be open to new experiences, open to what life has. I go into any situation with an open heart and a growth mindset. Something amazing is going to happen today, and it does. A few lines that I wrote down that resonate with me. Following invitation. I just went through a year of trying to push the envelope with my music career, and it caused some stress. I'm now in a mode of staying in my own lane for now and do what I do best and follow invitation. To me, the number one thing in life is to enjoy. Intentionally look for joy. Self-talk. Why is it so easy for us to say things to ourselves that we wouldn't say to others? I used to always think, that's not for me. I'm not good enough for that. That's for all those other people. And then I started to believe, like, why not me? There was a time last week when I was confused whether I was doing a reading or a life message, and I was texting Andrea. I'm like, what am I doing, a reading or a life message, or both, or is the reading part of the life message? I don't read the Bible. I don't know. And John and I have had conversations about that. I'm not drawn to reading the Bible yet. As I said, little stepping stones on my journey. And I am, however, drawn to listening to someone like John explaining verses and how they connect to day-to-day life. So I think John was just trying to get me to do the work. And I did the work, and I found some verses that connect to what I've said today. And so then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send? And who will go for us? And I said, here I am, send me. Truly, I tell you, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, and you can say to this mountain, move from here to here, and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you. In other words, sometimes, why not me is a question of stepping into action with faith. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. In other words, God empowers us for tasks we may feel unworthy of. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. In other words, sometimes, why not me means stepping into courage because God is with you. Let us become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. In other words, keep stepping up. Your moment will come. Not many of you were wise by human standards, but God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. In other words, feeling unworthy, God sees potential where the world sees ordinary. But the Lord said to Samuel, "Do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him." The Lord does not look at things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. In other words, feeling overlooked, God sees potential where others don't. With man, this is possible, but not with God. All things are possible with God. When you feel incapable, God reminds you that possibility isn't based on human strength. Those who step up with what they've given are rewarded. Saying, "Why not me?" is the first step. Listen to what the Spirit is saying to the church. Thanks be to God. I'm going to play a song. Because I'm a better singer than a speaker. Writing music doesn't come easy to me. And when I didn't write music for a long time, it was because I thought I wasn't good enough. Typically, if I was going to write my own song on my own, I'd say it could take me about 2 weeks of using my spiritual tools and creating fulfilling experiences to get into the right mindset and be able to do it. You've probably heard people talking about writing a song, and sometimes it just comes right through you, like it came from somewhere else. This is that song for me. And I was thinking about this song and connecting it to my life, today's life message, and it hit me that this song was truly a gift from God that I needed at that time. My wife and I watched a movie called Soul on Disney, and I didn't even think I was into cartoons. Little did I know that movie would change my life, and my wife went to bed, and I cracked a bottle of red wine, and when the red wine was done, this song was done. If you could see life in the blink of an eye, would you see it more for that it is to sight? Life, is it more than meets the eye? Is it deeper than we could ever realize? How could I never think that I should cry? What did I think I would do before I died? Was anyone ever really on my side? Did I think ever go inside? Am I? What am I? Am I? Oh, am I in love? Am I in love? If I could see life through my grandmother's eyes, would I know that there's peace in love if we all try? When death becomes certain and time is not on your side, did life have a purpose and did you go for a ride? Thank you.